I deal in steel business, iron and steels. My father did this business, and of a truth, he tried his best, but coming out saying how the whole thing has been playing out, financial aspect of it, the people we are going to work with, because there is a lot of unfaithfuls. And some of the things I like banking with UBA, there are many. I value the relationship because they mostly answer when there's challenges in business, you called, and they will respond immediately. Right for the day we started till now, I've been there. So I enjoyed all they do and how they're doing it. Let them keep it up. Anything that I cannot find in Ocha, I don't think you can find it anywhere. Because we are more of selling the product here than every other area. I deal in steel business, iron and steels. My father did this business, and of a truth, he tried his best. But coming out saying how the whole thing has been playing out, I joined in the business and we now grow it to this extent. And when I was starting, a lot of things came up, financial aspect of it, the people we are going to work with, because there is a lot of unfaithfuls. And some of the things I like banking with UBA, there are many. I value the relationship because they mostly answer when there's challenges in business, you called, and they will respond immediately. Right for the day we started till now, I've been there. So I enjoyed all they do and how they're doing it. Let them keep it up. Anything that I cannot find in Ocha, I don't think you can find it anywhere. Because we are more of selling the product here than every other area. I deal in steel business, iron and steels. My father did this business, and of a truth, he tried his best. But coming out saying how the whole thing has been playing out, I joined in the business and we now grow it to this extent. And when I was starting, a lot of things came up, financial aspect of it, the people we are going to work with, because there is a lot of unfaithfuls. And some of the things I like banking with UBA, there are many. I value the relationship because they mostly answer when there's challenges in business, you called, and they will respond immediately. Right for the day we started till now, I've been there. So I enjoyed all they do and how they're doing it. Let them keep it up. Anything that I cannot find in Orchard, I don't think you can find it anywhere. Because we are more of selling the product here than every other area. I deal in steel business, iron and steels. My father did this business, and of a truth, he tried his best. But coming out saying how the whole thing has been playing out, I joined in the business and we now grow it to this extent. And when I was starting, a lot of things came up, financial aspect of it, the people we are going to work with, because there is a lot of unfaithfuls. And some of the things I like banking with UBA, there are many. I value the relationship because they mostly answer when there's challenges in business, you called, and they will respond immediately. Right for the day we started till now, I've been there. So I enjoyed all they do and how they're doing it. Let them keep it up. Anything that I cannot find in Orchard, I don't think you can find it anywhere. Because we are more of selling the product here than every other area. I deal in steel business, iron and steels. My father did this business, and of a truth, he tried his best. But coming out saying how the whole thing has been playing out, I joined in the business and we now grow it to this extent. And when I was starting, a lot of things came up, financial aspect of it, the people we are going to work with, because there is a lot of unfaithfuls. And some of the things I like banking with UBA, there are many. I value the relationship because they mostly answer when there's challenges in business, you called, and they will respond immediately. Right for the day we started till now, I've been there. So I enjoyed all they do and how they're doing it. Let them keep it up. Anything that I cannot find in Orchard, I don't think you can find it anywhere. Because we are more of selling the product here than every other area.
Greetings to all our viewers from across Africa and beyond. You are connected to us live from the UBA House Marina, right here in the heart of Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to yet another thrilling edition of the UBA Business Series. Today's conversation focuses on an insightful and informative theme: building for Africa's realities, turning consumer feedback into technology-driven solutions. These changemakers are addressing everyday challenges, creating opportunities, driving sustainable growth, and enhancing consumer experiences across Africa and beyond. So get ready for thought-provoking insights, inspiring stories, and meaningful conversations as we explore this year's theme. And now, your host, Adora Lumina Mbelu.
Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for joining us. I can see so many beautiful faces in the audience today, and I hope you're as excited as I am to be here. Are you excited? Yes, yes. All right. So before we kick off today, I would just like to acknowledge real quick some important people that we have everyone's important, but we have some special guests in this space today. We've got Mr. Joseph Bimpong, who's our head of data analytics and AI. Can we just give him a round of applause? And we've also got with us Mrs. Uzoamaka Onyeka, who's our head of remittance. And we've got with us Mr. Olukayode Olubi, who is our head of digital banking. All right. Welcome to the UBA Business Series. And our theme for today is Building for Africa's Realities, Turning Consumer Feedback into Technology-Driven Solutions. If there's one thing that we all understand about Africa, it is the fact that things don't always happen exactly the way that you expect it to. Consumer behavior is different, infrastructure is different, trust is different. And sometimes the very problems that you think you're solving for are not necessarily the problems that the consumer actually wants solved or is thinking about. And the real question then becomes, how do you listen deeply enough to build what truly matters? Not what you think matters, but what truly matters. Because in today's world, innovation goes beyond the idea. Great ideas are great ideas, but it's about paying attention. It's about turning everyday frustrations into scalable solutions. And it's also about thinking about, how do I leverage technology for efficiency? How do I think about things within context and references? And this applies across industries, whether you're thinking about music or venture capital or global trade or logistics, it applies across board. We have a panel discussion that's coming up later on today, well, in a few minutes, so please stay tuned for that. All right, so to kick us off today, I'm just going to introduce Mrs. Uzomaka Onyeka, who's UBA Group Head Remittance, to just share a bit more about why it is that we're here today. Thank you. Give her a round of applause, please.
Good morning. I already feel smart. I can see a lot of young at heart people. And it gives me great pleasure on behalf of UBA management to welcome all of you to this UBA Business Series. We're delighted to have you here. And I look forward to the interesting conversation discussing building for Africa's realities, turning consumer feedback into technology-driven solutions. That's a mouthful. At UBA, we believe that the most impactful solutions begin with deep understanding of people's needs. There's a saying, to know a people, you must understand their language. And needs is a very key part of the language that we speak. This series is about fostering, conversations, meaningful conversations with industry leaders and everybody who has something to say about anything. Because in Nigeria, things that we don't think are important become important at the click of our fingers. Africa's greatest opportunities for innovation are always based on the realities of its people. The most effective solutions are built not on assumptions, but on addressing and listening to our customers and providing responses to their needs. Customer feedback is more than insight. At UBA, we have a C-First philosophy, and that C-First philosophy is customer first. And we know that the insight from the customer will help us build the foundation for innovation. And that innovation, when combined with technology, enables us produce or create solutions that are relevant, that are inclusive, that are scalable, and that are transformative. We are privileged to have an exceptional panel of speakers whose insights, experiences, and thoughts will help us enrich today's discussion. We encourage everyone in the room to participate, and we want you to share your perspectives and leave with ideas that inspire us to innovate better. At the end of the discussion, we invite you to give us your feedback on BizChat. Your input will help us continue to improve this platform and shape future conversations. So now I'm going to put on my tech babe hat. Yes, I'm you know, there's a mindset that there's a certain demography that's interested in these things. I am the 1% that's an aberration. I see some of the people that I follow, 2 ladies that I follow actually, and someone whose music I grew up on, and someone whose solution I don't use to order food, but I use to order pharmaceuticals. So when you hear Chowdeck, you think it's food, but it's more than that. And I think the innovation and the insight led to the expansion of that solution. So I'll ask everyone to sit back, relax, and enjoy meaningful conversations. And please, 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 let us try and make this conversation as interactive as possible. Thank you, and welcome to UBA House. Tech babes and bros, let the conversations begin.
Thank you very much. And now, next, I would like to invite Mr. Olusheye Shoyede Johnson, who is our head of Enterprise Sale Bundle, to share a brief overview on the importance of tech rewards in SME growth.
Hi, how are we doing? Good morning or good afternoon. I see a lot of super excited faces. I'm really excited for this panel. Amazing people that we've seen, bridging that gap between, customer feedback and what people are saying and actual, solutions out there. So I just have a couple of minutes, if you permit me. Got a couple of slides. I'm not sure how much you can see up there, but I'm going to go really quickly. So I'm looking at, and this is something that I'm very passionate about, right? First of all, I'm Olusheye Shoyede Johnson. I head enterprise sales for Bundle. We turn everyday interactions into rewarding experiences. I'd like to start with a really simple question, because I love what Ada said, right? How do we turn everyday frustrations into real solutions? So what is the biggest piece of customer feedback, right, that Nigerian businesses have received over the last 5 years? I think it's no longer, hidden in surveys, right? It's hidden in how people are behaving, right? They're saying, recognize me. I mean, apart from, make my money go further, right? They're also saying, reward the things that I do for you, right? I keep coming back to your brand. That's loyalty, right? They're saying, don't just process a transaction, make it worth something, right? There's more value that brands can give. So to me, that is Africa's reality, especially for a new generation, a digital native generation, right? Today, consumers are navigating rising costs, right? Countless digital choices. And of course, I'm going to, yes, I also face that as well. Shorter attention spans, right? No one wants to admit it, right? But I think that's something that, especially as SMEs, right, we have to be, really cognizant of. But as SMEs, you're also facing high acquisition costs, thinner margins, and customers who switch brands just like that, right? So how are we, how do we keep them loyal, right? What are the old ways of being able to compete? It comes from customer feedback, right? The old ways of loyalty say, let's compete on price, right? But the new way says, let's compete on relationship, right? And you build that through understanding what your customers are saying, just like was just said. They want deeper relationships. And that's why loyalty and rewarding has fundamentally changed. It's no longer a marketing campaign, right? It's no longer just, get this, credit card or this plastic card, right? It's no longer about nice to haves. It's really about creating critical business infrastructure, whether you're an enterprise or you're an SME, right? Because you want repeatable behavior. You want to take and distill what is it that your customers want, what are they doing, what are the behaviors, right, that matter most to you, and then you want to be able to repeat that over time, right? And that can be transformational for SMEs. But here's the challenge. Many SMEs struggle to justify looking at how they reward customers and loyalty, right? Because you can't really measure impact a lot of the time. Traditional rewards often say, what did we give away, right? But modern technology is saying, what behavior did we create in our customers? That's the difference, right? Today's technology is making loyalty and rewards programmable, measurable, and data-driven. So instead of rewarding someone, right, for the things that just coming into your shop, right, you're rewarding them because you have understanding, right, of what they're doing and what they're saying. And so you're able to drive repeat purchases, more referrals, more digital touch points, and higher spending. And that's critical for many of the businesses here, right? So, for me, as someone who's passionate about customer feedback, right, and how we use technology to translate that, right, into actionable behaviors for businesses, right? For me, it's about how do we take those insights, right, and make it something that people feel is value, right? And so one of the things that I'm super proud about, right, that UBA has done is launch rewards, right, embedded directly into one of their most famous mascots, the Leo chatbot, right? So that, every time you come into the Leo chatbot, right, you're getting rewarded for the transactions, for just buying your airtime, for making transfers, all the things that matter to you, but also matter to the business as well, right? And the key thing about this is you're able to turn those rewards into discounts and things that matter to your lifestyle, right? So ultimately, it's about empowering the customer's lifestyle because you've heard their feedback. My name is Oluseyi Shoyi Johnson. You can check us out at the booth outside, right? Try out the new Leo mascot and platform and start earning rewards for the things that you do with UBA. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Oluseyi. All right. So today's conversation is really about one thing. How do we build for Africa's realities as it is and not as we imagine it to be? And more importantly, how do we take what people are telling us, so their sentiments, their behaviors, their complaints, their workarounds, and turn those into products, platforms, projects, ecosystems that are actually able to move us forward? That's what we're here to unpack today. And I have some really super brilliant entrepreneurs here with me who are going to be sharing some insights as we go along, and we can all learn from this. So maybe you need to also just pull out your notes or pull out a pen and paper, right? Because they're going to be dropping some really hot nuggets here. Are you guys excited? Yes. Okay, great. Let's meet them.
Ashim Agunjobi is the managing partner at Octera Capital, an African investment fund investing in bold, disruptive tech solutions for emerging markets. A passionate advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, she has championed DEI initiatives at Standard Chartered Bank, launched a multinational tech company's women's network in Nigeria, and supports women-led investments as an ESCO member of Rising Tide Africa. With 18 plus years of experience in banking, private capital and tech across Africa, Europe and Asia, Ashim is committed to driving sustainable growth and closing the funding gap for underrepresented founders. M.I. Abaga, real name Jude Lempani Abaga MFR, is a Nigerian rapper, songwriter, producer, entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Task, a platform leveraging technology to create opportunities and sustainable careers for Africa's creative community. A pioneer of African hip-hop, he previously served as CEO of Chocolate City and later founded Incredible Music. Through Task, MI is helping bridge the gap between technology and the creative economy by enabling creators to access partnerships, monetize their work, and build scalable businesses. Renowned for his creativity, visionary leadership, and cultural influence, he continues to shape the future of Africa's creative and innovation ecosystem through entrepreneurship, talent development, and digital transformation. Femi Aluko is a Nigerian software engineer, entrepreneur, and co-founder and CEO of Chaldec, one of Nigeria's fastest-growing food delivery platforms. Formerly a principal engineer at Paystack and a top graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University. He is known for combining deep technical expertise with entrepreneurial vision. His leadership is characterized by innovation, strategic thinking, customer centricity, resilience, and a data-driven approach, enabling him to build scalable technology solutions that are transforming commerce and logistics across Africa.
Great to have you all here. First of all, thank you so much for being here. I know you're all greatly busy people. I'm really excited about learning today. I know everyone's here to learn, but I'm also here to pick up some stuff. Now, for everyone who's tuning in online, please make sure that you send in your questions. We're going to be taking question and answers afterwards. And for everyone in the audience here as well, if you have any questions so that it doesn't fly out of your head, just make a note of it, right? So that you can ask this at the end. All right, so we're gonna jump right into it. Are you guys ready? Excited? Yeah? Okay, great. I wanna start with talking about something real, right? Not just something that's theoretical, because you're all people who have built in this market and for this market and even beyond. What is one thing that you got wrong about your customer when you first started off at any point? So you can share. It could be something that, for example, that you were convinced that, you know what, African customers need or want this particular thing, and then you found out the hard way. Who wants to start?
Happy to start, and I hope everybody can hear. Thank you for having me today. I think one of the misconceptions oftentimes is that one, customers don't change. So your customer today is the same customer like tomorrow, and that's simply not the truth. Customers constantly have new habits, new behaviors, new things that they want. And if your product doesn't evolve from it, you know, then you might lose them. And I think the second one, and I learned this when I was leading a multinational organization across Africa, was that the misconception about, you know, Africa being the same. You fly across the continent and you realize very quickly that a Nigerian consumer is very different to a consumer in Botswana or in Rwanda or in Nairobi in Kenya. And so, the importance of having insights from the different markets and actually understanding the consumers in the market is really key to, not falling on your face and making those mistakes.
I really like that one.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Such an honor to be here. That's a good question. And I started thinking back to my music days because, I mean, music distribution and consumption has changed so many times. You'd be chasing radio and it'd be on streaming. You'd be chasing, before it even went to streaming, it was digital downloads where you would just buy the whole album. And it's sort of like this whole journey of chasing the market. But I think in my new venture, Task, one of my assumptions, as soon as I figured out that, tech could take away the difficult parts of transacting between creators and businesses, I thought tech first. I thought both sides wanted a platform where they could transact, and come to find out that they just want their problem solved. It's more about relationships and hardcore agency, and then the tech can sit, and make that transaction easier. But ask me next week. I'm sure there's going to be something else I got wrong.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I run Chowdeck, and we have like millions of customers, and I think that behavior, or what I learned in the first year, has definitely changed over the last few years. But I think the truth that hasn't really changed is that, like, what customers want, they really want your deliveries to happen really fast, and they also want deliveries to happen at the best prices as well. Now, we interpreted prices like in a very different way, because we have different social classes in Nigeria. For some people, cheap prices mean like 5K. For some people, it means 50K, depending on like what market you're trying to play in. So initially, we started treating all market as one. And when I mean all market as one, like we treated Lagos, Abuja, Ibadan as one big market. I think like just looking deep into the data for the first, I think in our first or second year, we realized very quickly that like all markets are not the same. For some people, like their biggest priority is getting their meals really fast. Some people are okay waiting an extra 10-15 minutes if it's going to be like 200 naira, 300 naira cheaper. Now, these are different markets, by the way, and that insight just changed how we thought about our product. So when we are going into a new city, we asked that, like, what is the, I mean, all both of them are true. Nobody would wait for 3 hours to get their food delivered. But we had built technology that like made food get delivered in like 20 minutes, in 25 minutes. And we figured out like if we could make that delivery happen in 30 minutes or 35 minutes at like 100 naira or 20 naira cheaper for like this set of customers, would they be willing to it? And we ran that test, and it was, I mean, the numbers spiked. Like everyone was excited about like getting their deliveries cheaper in that location. And that truth just stuck with me for the longest time. Like I started Chowdeck because I had COVID. I wanted to get my food delivered on time. But like that's my own reality. But like for a lot of people, again, the difference between 20 minutes and 30 minutes is not a lot compared to like that small price increment. That was the biggest insight I got in the first 2 years. Yeah.
Thank you all for sharing that, and I think it just kind of highlights something that a lot of times when we think about data just from a macro point of view, but what is really important when it comes to consumer insight is really the interpretation of that data within the context and realities, which you've all highlighted here today. And Femi, I want to start off with you. Just you started Chowdeck at a point where food delivery wasn't thriving as much, and there were certain players that were in the game at the time as well. And we saw a lot of exits happen in that moment. What insights I know you shared a little bit, but I want to now go a little bit deeper, right? What were some of those insights that you saw that made you believe that there was still an opportunity, even though people were exiting the markets? And what did you do differently to earn trust and to be able to shift that consumer behavior? Let's just kind of deep dive into the little summary that you gave.
Yeah. I mean, when Chowdeck started, like everyone was like, this is a very crowded market. We had a lot of top players, companies that had raised like hundreds of millions of dollars. So people basically gave us no chance because it was like you're fighting in the market that is already solved and all. But there was one insight that I held on to for the longest time at the beginning of Chowdeck. Nigeria and even Africa as a continent like is very big, but like we didn't have a food delivery player in Nigeria that was delivering a lot of orders daily. Now I'll put some numbers to it. At the time, the biggest food delivery app in America called DoorDash or Uber Eats was doing around 8 million deliveries daily. The biggest in China called Meituan was doing around 150 million deliveries daily. The biggest in India was doing around 4 million deliveries daily, but the biggest in Africa was doing 19,000 deliveries daily. Now, there's the argument that like, I mean, spending power in Africa is this and all of that, but we have successful like companies in Africa as well that has built technology that has been able to serve millions of people. So I held on to that for that, like there has to be a reason why people are not ordering food online in Nigeria as they would. Now, thankfully, post-COVID, a lot of people started ordering things online. Behavior shifted online. We had a generation that like lived on TikTok, lived on Instagram. It was just the unique time to build something that like everyone was going to have to use to order their daily needs online. And Chowdeck started like that, and it was still the same story. Funding was even hard in the first few months because like everyone's like, I mean, everyone has done this, they failed and all, but like the first few months was obsessing over like logistics, and which is what I said earlier, over delivery times, that like these people deliver in 3 hours, they deliver in 4 hours. Then there was a joke that like if you needed to order lunch, you need to order it from the morning, like from breakfast. So you order like 9 o'clock for a 12 p.m., 1 p.m. And we're not going to like live with that. And then I got to Dubai, that was post-COVID. And I realized as well that like in Dubai, things were happening very fast. Like you order food, you get it in 20 minutes, in 25 minutes. But when you come back to Nigeria, you order food, you get it in 3 hours. And I thought that that was enough to build a company out of. And then I spoke to my co-founders, we launched Chowdeck. Very quickly, we saw traction. Like people started ordering very quickly. Someone even tweeted at some point. I still remember that tweet because like it really made, like it made my days for multiple days. The tweet was like, people are building health tech, people are building fintech, but when it goes to Chowdeck Ton, they are building Juju tech, because then deliveries was really so fast, and that caused like us to go viral like in the early days. Now, fast forward to like us getting Chowdeck to a point where like people started using it. We applied to an accelerator called Y Combinator, and we got into YC. Now, something interesting that happened like I think a year or two into launching Chowdeck as well, was like we realized that growth became stagnant. Like we're not growing as fast as we should, and that was the peak of 2024, where like I think there was the monetary policy also, inflation had increased like significantly, and then we started looking into the data again. We knew that like companies that had done this before, they would the reason they failed was like our thesis was that they failed for two reasons. They failed for poor unit economics, and they failed for long delivery times. That was something we're never going to compromise on, both of them. Like in Chowdeck, like every delivery is like a competition, it's like a battle. Like you have to, like from the top, that's for me, like I still do deliveries by the way, from the top down to like everybody on the, like down to the agent, down to the rider, everyone knows that like a Chowdeck delivery is super, super important. So that efficiency was baked into our DNA from day one. Now, it gave us an edge very quickly because like it was hard for competitors to replicate that speed of delivery because everyone had built that technology on 3 hours, 4 hours. Nigerians would collect anything, but like we knew that like we needed to provide the best possible service to Nigerians. Fast forward to 2024, which is one of the, I guess, biggest lessons I also learned in my own entrepreneurship journey as well, was that like we started as just food delivery, delivering just food. And we learned quickly as well that like during that period, people stopped ordering restaurant meals, and we started looking into the, or rather the, our GMV, which is like the total amount we process in a month, started becoming flat, even though the other numbers were increasing. And we started looking into the numbers, like, why is this happening? And then I learned an insight that I actually knew from small, but I didn't realize that like we were plenty that were in that category. And what is that insight? At the beginning of the month, when salary just gets paid, like you order for turkey, you order for chicken, you order for like, I guess a lot of people, I don't know, but for me, I order for turkey. Yeah. Yeah, I order for turkey, for chicken. And then the second week of the month, like I start ordering for meat, that's beef, fish, like, third week of the month, it gets to egg. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the first few days of the third week is like egg, but you still have to eat. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you order for egg, and even towards the end of the third week, like it's just like give me rice, like exactly. Like nothing else. And then fourth week again, everything spikes back up again to turkey and chicken. I was like, oh, this is crazy insight. Like people are probably cooking a lot more when at the middle of the month rather than at the beginning of the month. Because at the beginning of the month, like again, you think you have a lot of money until the reality sets in second or third week. And then we launched like our local markets delivery, which is like customers being able to order from local markets, and that just skyrocketed our numbers like really badly. Like started growing so fast. We started ordering like tomatoes, rodo, and we were like, okay, yeah, we're going to meet you anywhere. We're going to meet you. Like beginning of the month, everyone is ordering from, I don't know, Chicken Republic, Item 7, top restaurants. And in the middle of the month, everyone's ordering tomatoes, rodo, like this thing. And that's behavior that like we saw, and then we capitalized on, and it just like helped us like keep growing like for going forward. Yeah, thank you.
Man, thank you so much. Yeah, round of applause. Very powerful. And when you were speaking, you talked about like the delivery timelines and you specifically said, you know, in that moment we decided that we wanted to capitalize on this and build something from there. But how do people know, for everyone who's listening now, how do they know when a pain point is big enough for you to actually build a company around it? Because there are many pain points, right? So how do I know that it's big enough for me to build around?
Yeah, I'll say my own story because like initially when I started building Chowdeck, and for context, okay, you already mentioned in my profile, but I used to be a principal engineer at a company called Paystack. Paystack got acquired by Stripe for a lot of money, and after the acquisition, that was in 2020, I started thinking of like, how big can Paystack get like post the acquisition? And then I was supposed to travel to Dubai to go like hire like a couple of engineers at Paystack. And that was when I got COVID. I tried to order food. I realized I couldn't get food delivered to me. And I thought that, like, logistics is a very big problem. But mind you, I was still at Paystack. Do you understand? So I was like, let me just put my hands on this and just try it out and see, like, is it going to work? Is it not going to work? So I was still at Paystack when I started Chowdeck. So I launched the first version at Paystack. Well, at Chowdeck, I launched Chowdeck while I was at Paystack. And I think the first few weeks people were ordering, but like I wasn't convinced that like I'd built something that like people actually did want. And then that guy made that tweet. That's like that Juju Tech, like fintech, health tech tweet. Then a lot of people downloaded the app, and then we had to shut it down, like to prevent signups. Because like the first insight I also understood from Chowdeck or any marketplace is that like it's a demand and supply game. Like if you don't have enough riders or restaurants, like customers would always have like delayed deliveries. So if you don't have, we didn't have the supply. It was just 5 of us, like me, my co-founders, and 2 other riders delivering all the meals at the time. So we didn't have enough supply. So we had to manage the demand that was coming in at the time. And then another restaurant makes a big tweet around like, oh, order my food on Chowdeck, like the deliveries are so fast, happening in 10-15 minutes. And then a lot of people started reaching out like, oh, we can't sign up. And at that moment I was like, this is a very big company. Like I have like thousands of people waiting to use this product. Like why am I preventing them from using this product? It was in the middle of that thing, I just walked up to Shola, and that's the CEO of Paystack, like, hey, like, man, my time is done. And what do you mean? Like, we have these plans we've had together. I'm like, yeah, like, I think this is a lot bigger. I think it's going to be a $10 billion company. I think like I can make something out of all of this. And it was at that point I knew that like this pain point is something that like a lot of people resonate with. People are looking for ways to order. People were signing up for the product even when they have not even tested it. They have just heard about like the promise that the product was giving, and it was at that point I know like this was a big company. So I think customers would let you know, like when you hit PMF, like it's almost hard. Like you would know that you've hit PMF, like from the massive surge in demand, from how people are asking for your products, from how people are even disturbing you. That's people online, like people that even have not even used it before. They're just making jokes or making bans off people's comments of your product here. So I think customers would always tell you that like this is no longer a quick feature or a quick fix. Like it's time to take us seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's great. I mean, to be in a place where you have an existing customer base and they're continuously telling you that they have a particular need, and then you're solving for that problem in a way that aligns with how they view the problem and like the different intricacies of the parts that are important to them. Because I mean, there are many people who are solving in your space, but there's a Chowdeck way, right? Which you've hacked. So that's great. Thank you for sharing with us. Emma, I want to come to you now, and we're going to talk a bit about just the integration or the intersection between technology and entertainment. Okay, as AI is shaping how music is created and how music is distributed as well, how do you use technology to enhance creativity without losing the human connection? This is something that a lot of creators are struggling with,
and it's a big problem. So first of all, I mean, let's say the positive side, which is that technology has always been part of creativity. If you were to go back 40 years, making a song was a very long process. It involved reels. It involved renting a big studio, hiring all these musicians. And then a few years post that, these digital software started being created where you could put in if you could think of what you wanted your bass guitar to sound like, you could use a computer and program it, and then you didn't need to spend as much money on session musicians or, things like that. I think in film, the same thing was happening where you didn't have to use film reels. You could now use like a digital camera, which saved you a lot of cost. So we've always had that partnership with technology. It's just that AI has sort of, there's this, I forget what book it is, where he talks about you want to make something that's 100 times better than what's there. And AI seems to be doing that orders of magnitude higher than that. And the potential there is on both sides that, I mean, the big challenge with AI is that it trains us to let go of things that human beings have been special at cognitively. And so on the artist side, you can now just write a prompt and it will create a song for you, right? And on the consumer side, you can now listen to something that's technically better And if you're not very discerning, all of a sudden you're missing the fact that this comes from real inspiration. I do, however, believe that AI will allow the most special creators become even more special. And so the challenges around like access to the resources where people can really learn, people can have compute power to be able to test things, I think are what we need to cross over. But I've started seeing musicians really, there's a technical term called stems. So stems is like all the various channels on a song, the bass guitar, the drum, the backup vocals. I've started to see people take the stems and start working with the stems. I've seen the same thing in video production. People are coloring, they're editing, they're creating podcasts, final edits really quickly with AI software. And that's the hope, that we are able to learn quick enough and use it to leverage and amplify what we are naturally good at. Hopefully, because we do have a real moment where creativity, which is so natural to us as African young people, we are like superbly creative. And we do have this moment where the world is really paying attention. And hopefully we're able to move quickly enough and catch up with the trend before we're sort of replaced by, a few people in Russia or or in America,
There's a lot of resistance, right, that we see from people whenever we talk about AI and the intersection with that and creativity. So in your experience, are there parts of the creative process that you think, don't necessarily, like, how do you think a creator can balance that? Like that you feel like, what, you don't necessarily need to outsource these parts of the creative process to AI? What does that
well, that's a good
like?
question. Well,
What does that look like
maybe I'll answer the reverse.
Okay.
Right? So I think if you're a creator, keep the thing about you that's special. Like I'm a songwriter and I'm an orchestrator. So I will have an idea for a song or an album, and then I will write these like lyrics, and then I'll start putting together like the story, and I'll try to make this like really intricate, song or piece of work that's very themed. And AI can really help me make that special, right? But maybe what I would like to touch on is the spaces where I think we can leverage AI to really go ham as an industry. So number one is, I think, like the really special creators. So you're thinking about your Kemi Adetibas, your Adoras, your Burna Boys, your Wizkids. How can they become even more special? I was thinking about the fact that every time I would listen to a Kanye West album, he would have this incredible recording budget. He'd have choirs, he'd be able to go to like get these special drum programming. And today, at a much cheaper cost, there's AI studios that can help replicate some of those sounds. So it can allow the really special creators become even more special. The second layer is that there's a lot of like admin. There's a lot of like just meaningless labor. Like when an album is done, you're registering for rights and you're uploading it to distribution platforms, and you're setting up your deck and you're sending out proposals and all that. And that's sort of the work that we're trying to do with Task. Is like, how do we leverage AI to make that really tedious work where you're spending a lot of time, like you can write your business proposal in a second. You can create your deck in a second. You can find businesses that will match with your audience really quickly. And then maybe the third layer is like, there is a global creative industry. So the creative industry is $2 trillion, 2 point something, and it's projected to get to $3 trillion really quickly. With the way people are consuming content, it looks like this, those projections might be, we might be under projecting. And so the question is, how then, and I may not have a specific answer, but maybe to leave the question with the audience, is how then can we become a global supplier of parts of the global creative industry that are difficult to do and need a lot of people, need a lot of compute, where Hollywood could be an off-taker. So for example, I'll give an example. Like Nigerians are really good at English, just generally compared to the rest of the globe. And there's so many movies that come out that need subtitling. or like coloring on movies, or sound design, or set design, or like script editing. How can we leverage these tools and provide like sort of the Andela model? How do we become a global supplier to a market that desperately wants big problems solved, where thousands of young people in Nigeria, in Africa, can be using these tools and providing services to the global market? I think that that's the best way for us to think holistically about where we are in this moment and the intersection between technology and creativity. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I really like that. As you were speaking, a lot of what you shared, right, I think is highly impactful and applies like on a global level, but just kind of bringing it to our African context and just your personal experience, obviously being African and being in a space where you are, working with Task to create that bridge, right? What are some of the biggest opportunities that you feel that we have on the African continent to bridge that gap? I know you did share about just kind of being able to serve other markets right from here, but is there anything else that you specifically have experienced that you think we would benefit from within our context?
The speaker right before us was speaking about SMEs, and so I would say that we're witnessing a disruption that is going to change the game. Like when I was a young man, just 20 years ago, no one said anything, okay. But everyone would tune into TV at the same time and watch the same program at the same time. And these big platforms, TVs, newspapers, sort of controlled, access to attention, and businesses would have to deal with them. And they had really organized marketing teams, business development teams to transact, to sell attention to businesses so businesses could put their products in front of consumers. The change we're witnessing now is that audiences are going to be completely democratized, meaning that every influencer becomes their own platform. Davido becomes NTA. Burna Boy becomes Silverbird. And I think the opportunity here is twofold. So number one is businesses now can pinpoint their audience, and they can, in fact, in like precise detail with the right tools, they can find exactly what that matches between sales and marketing, the marketing naira, right? And I think that's a massive opportunity for businesses because we have so many creative, talented people that are building amazing audiences. And I think the second opportunity, which again, back to what we're doing with Task, is for the infrastructure around creators. Right? So creators become the new platforms. There's going to be thousands of them, and they're going to need really great support to do this. They're going to need creative support. They're going to need business support. And so we look forward to a future where UBA is transacting directly with creators, directly to their audiences, and is able to have hardcore data about their business performance, and all the businesses that UBA support as well are able to, maybe use that channel or use Task to find creators where they can transact directly and meet customers. And so the world is changing, but if we are able to move quickly and move with purpose, I think it's exciting and it's a big opportunity for us. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So we've talked a bit about spotting the opportunity, consumer insight, technology, leveraging technology, and now I want to bring it to sustainability and scalability, right, Ashim? So you're someone who reviews countless startup pitches every year. When you evaluate these startups, right, what signals to you that this can actually scale? That's the first part of my question. The second part is, what do you think are the biggest mistakes that founders make when they claim that they're solving a real problem?
Thank you, Adora. So, look, the reality is that most ideas look great on a pitch deck, right? You can package it nicely, especially now with AI, and send a great looking pitch deck. So we don't, at Octera Capital, we don't really look at just the idea. What we really look at is sort of what we'd like to call sort of our stack of risks. So the first one is founder risk. And that is actually the most important one, especially in venture capital, which is where we invest, which is sort of at the early stages of a business. Most times it really is about the founder. It is about, does this founder have the grit, the conviction, the understanding, the nimbleness to take this idea that he has from 0 to 100, right? Or to 1,000, or to 10 million, like you said. And that is really key. Without the founder, there's really no business. You've got to have, that one thing really clear. The second thing we look at is the business model. So again, the idea might look great on paper, but the question really is how big is the market for this? Is there product market fit for this? And perhaps they haven't gotten to product market fit yet. So we have to start thinking about, what is the risk to this solution that they're trying to build in the market that might mean that it won't fit? Who is really the consumer for this, product, for instance? And are the founders or the founder looking at the market in the way that they have actually understood the consumer? Or have they sample sized their 15 friends and family and have said, oh, hey, you like this, would you pay for it? And the 15 friends say, yeah, sure, this is a great idea. But there's like thousands of people out there who just, look, I wouldn't pay a naira for this. The next thing that we look at is very much also market risk. Oftentimes you might have a really exciting solution, you might have a really exciting founder, and then you look at the market. And Actera, we don't just invest in Nigeria, but across the continent. So you sort of look at the market and you think to yourself, one, is the market ready? Also, what macroeconomic factors play in? Sometimes it's even political factors. There might be elections coming up or other reasons why there might be some instability, or volatility. So, it's really key for us to also look and understand the market. So we really stack the risks in that way. And then, sort of at the end of that, that's when we really look at a pitch deck and say, okay, you know what? We've scaled this through our, risk matrix. And we actually think that, this is the right product. There is a problem that it is solving. This founder is, fire. And we believe that, this founder has the conviction to carry this along. And we also think that the market is ready for this. And to your second question, around what we have seen as perhaps one of the key elements of why solutions perhaps fail, is that sometimes founders are really married to the solution rather than the problem. And I really liked, our Chowdeck example, because it was always around trying to solve the problem. He identified two key problems and he tried and is doing it, and still solving it, still trying. He said, this is the key thing up to today, this is where we want to excel. So it's not so much about the solution, right? The solution could be gray, black, green, blue, whatever color. It doesn't sound like he's so married to the solution. Some founders, however, are like, no, I said I'm going to design this thing and therefore it has to look like this, it has to smell like this, and it has to walk and talk like this. Now, the reality is that unless the market is willing to pay for exactly what you have built, you don't really have a product, you don't really have a business. So it's really, really key that, you always remember, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? And am I in fact building a solution to solve that problem?
Yeah. I really like that, because entrepreneurship is about solving problems. And the thing is, even after you solve the first problem that you set out to solve, you find out that there's multiple problems that show up as a result of, you trying to solve one.
Every time.
Yes. And so you have to keep solving as you go along. Where you have a lot of insights, obviously. And so, where do you think that Africa's next billion-dollar opportunities will come from?
Gosh, if I knew, I'd already be invested in there.
Where do you think they'll come from?
No, of course, we have some theses around it. Just looking at the continent, and again, it's difficult, right? 54 markets, they're all quite different. and have different maturity levels across different sectors as well, even within verticals within sectors. So it's not always so apparent. But certainly what we do see is a couple of things. One, financial inclusion continues to be a segment that will require to be accelerated. We have still millions of people who are financially not included in all products, or who are sort of on the fringes or the periphery of what they could have access to. Once we include all those people, we just, also include or increase the markets for companies like Chowdeck, right? Which is then exciting, because only once we have consumers who are actually able to pay online are we going to be able to ensure that we can build more and more businesses that can actually transact there. So financial inclusion, financial services as a whole, we do believe that there is a lot of growth that we will continue to see on the continent. In Nigeria, we're incredibly advanced when it comes to financial products. My sister here is agreeing with me, right? But when we go to some other markets, you would be shocked at how people are still transacting, how cash heavy things still are. So there's a lot of opportunity in the financial services side. Of course, creative economy, yes, and sports and creative economy is a huge segment that, one, has appetite worldwide, meaning that there is a market, not just in country, but actually there's a market outside to shop to. But most interestingly, there's also a funding appetite, which is important because it means that these kind of solutions will continue to be accelerated, right? And I think the last thing really is around SMEs, where we do believe that, especially in Africa, the real growth in the next decade or so is going to come from small, medium enterprises that are building, real solutions, solving real problems, and are going to continue to steadily grow. The one thing that we believe is going to be an accelerator to the SME growth, is ensuring that we continue to also unlock debt. So at Octera, we do equity and venture capital, but we also have a private credit desk where we also deploy debt. And we believe that having the right debt element at a certain time in a business, especially a fast-growing business, will enable those businesses to get onto that J-curve and actually be able to have sort of fast-tracked growth.
Thank you. I really love this conversation, because I think one thing that is clear is, first of all, understanding that there's no single way to build for Africa, right? There are many different ways, because we have to, again, consider the context of the different regions within Africa. What really stands out to me as well is knowing that it's not just about who's the smartest person, right? Like, building is not just about being the smartest person. It's also about who's the most observant to actually see what's going on in the environment. You have to be able to pay attention to people, to behavior, to context. All right. So thank you very much. We're not done. Okay. So I started this off by saying that, everyone in the audience, if you had questions, write it down. For those online as well, if you have your questions, please put it in the comments. But we're going to start off with the room here first of all. Do we have any questions? Can I see hands up? Okay, great. I'm going to take 3 people from different spaces. So I'm going to have you. Can we get a mic? There.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I think my question is for Mr. Aluko. Yes. So, building Chowdeck, of course, to an extent, there was enough validation. You mentioned the tweets. There was the virality. People were saying this is working. People were enjoying it, right? But when it was time to scale, funding was needed. But my question is, I have a startup. What do you do between when you are still bootstrapping and preparing for funding, right? What are the things I need to look out for? For instance, I have users using the application already. What are the things I know I have to be careful about? the things I have to be also have to be intentional about. Yeah, so that's my question.
Thank you. When you were talking, I was also thinking about like my first like 6 to 12 months. So while it looks now I guess in hindsight that like funding was available, like it wasn't available. I think that's the best. That's what I would say. I think the biggest thing I obsessed over, at least in the first 8 months, was my unit economics. And it was something I learned as Y Combinator as well. That like, can you run a business in the simplest form? And it's like you sell something, you buy something, you sell something. You know what I mean? Like, what is the simplest version of that business? And I think she said it as well, that like the validation is like, are customers paying for this product? Like, can customers actually pay for this product? Now, I'll tell you how I evolved. And I don't mean evolved. I'm a product guy. Like, I build products. I'm an engineer. I haven't run a business before. Chowdeck is my first business, if that makes sense. So I started off just trying to solve the problem, like logistics, like delivery and all. Now, we got pricing wrong, like in the first few months. Like when I say pricing, like I didn't know how to price the product. Like we had built something that people loved, but pricing was like vibe based. You know what I mean? Like, oh, how much do you think it will cost this thing? 100 naira. Okay, let's charge 100 naira. That was how we figured out pricing. Now we started having to pay riders because initially it was me and my co-founders that were doing deliveries, like early employees. So we didn't have like an economics problem. Like we just had like we were not conscious of like paying ourselves delivery fees. Do you know what I mean? So we started like that, tried getting riders, started paying riders, and we're like, oh, riders will collect X. We need to get this X from somewhere. Like we can't just be giving the product out for free. Yeah. And then we started doing that. Now we started buying bikes for the riders as well. And after buying the first, I think 25 bikes, I realized that like we can't scale this business by buying bikes. Because again, we needed to build something that like we could get up to 8 million riders without having to need external funding. But that also happened because after we bought the 25th bike, we didn't have money again to buy extra bikes. So if you had more money, I'm sure we'd keep buying bikes until it got to that situation here. So we didn't have money and we're like, we need to just take a step back and like figure out what this business is actually. So those first 8 months was like us experimenting, getting to what the business was actually before. And when you get to that point, it becomes easier to raise from a position of strength. That like I have a product that people use. I have and because I'm a builder as well, like building is cheap for me. Like what is expensive is like learning about business, learning about finances, learning about like that was the expensive part. But like I can easily build it like in my distance. So figure out what your strength is. I think that's the best. I was like, you have something like if I was a finance guy, for example, I probably would have focused on like, I don't know, funding first or finance first or business first before actually building. But I'm a builder at heart. So that's how I started my own story. And I think that like if you're going to do something really big, I think at the smallest level, it has to work. Like if you're not using it, because then like we had people that like if you're my friend, you have to use Chowdeck. Like you have to like you have to explain to me why you're not using Chowdeck, and I would try to fix the reason why. I would just keep like iterating onto that. Yeah. So funding is not really easy when you're starting off because what you're selling is that like believe me, I don't feel like give you. Do you understand? Like you don't have data, you don't have a product. You have to like force it. You have to use like me now. I used to be an engineer at Paystack, so my friends at Paystack put money in. Like if your friends and family don't believe in you, then what? How will an investor like that doesn't even know you like believe in you? Yeah, so I had to prove that validation. Like, see, my former Oga Shola puts money. My former Oga, everybody puts money into this thing, and it was easy to just like get to that thing. But again, first get your product right. Like, if you don't have a product, it's hard to convince anyone that like you are capable of. There has to be a proof point, like that. Oh, this person that can build a product. This person has done this before. He has done all that before. Like building child, like everything I was saying was like, oh, I used to be an engineer at Paystack. This is what I've built so far. I have X number of users, but like get something out first. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Femi. Can we get a microphone for the gentleman in blue? Thank you. And then I'll take a question from this line as well. Okay, sure.
Good afternoon. Rodo Sadiri with Horizon News. So we covered tech quite a lot, and so that's the reason why I'm here. Really credit to UBA for putting this together. I've got questions for all three of you. For the gentleman from Chowdeck, the big news today is that Uber has purchased Delivery Hero, which is the German company that owns one of your competitors, Glovo. And they have layered several services on top of just food. I'm wondering, as a products guy and a builder, I think you're going there. Are you going to layer the network that you've built here using tech to add more services? Jeff Bezos famously said, if we're already coming to your house, what else can we put in the truck? So I don't know if you're, Meatwan, you mentioned Meatwan, they do flower delivery. So on a Valentine's Day, you could order food and also order flowers. So I just want to know if you're looking at that expansion in the future. For MI Legend, we don't use the graphics designer on my show anymore. We use ChatGPT for all our graphics because we're a business show, and so we're using GDP, interest rates, everything, right? Gemini now creates music. If you are going to create a podcast, you can just tell it what you want, whatever genre, and it will create it for you. So, you know, I wanted to get your thoughts on the disruption, because we're talking about customer feedback, and you're talking about Burna Boy and so on becoming brands. AI is now improving DIY for people. So instead of giving a brand feedback, they just do it themselves. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the disruption for music. And interest rates. I just wanted to you're talking about funding SMEs. Tech needs money. He was talking, I remember Chowdeck did a seed funding round, I think it was 2.5 million in 2024, and then Series A of 9.5 million August 2025. Interest rates. I wanted to get your thoughts on interest rates, where they are, and how that's going to assist in funding of SMEs going forward. Thank you.
Questions. All right, so after that, I'll just take 2 more questions, one from here, and then I'll take.
I guess I wanted to ask, who operates the ChatGPT to do it? You just do it yourself? Oh, wow. So to me, that's the challenge, right? The challenge is that would you consider yourself a creative, sir? In some way, you're creating content. And I think that's the point I was making. It's that there's going to be super creators who are going to leverage these tools. They're going to learn them quicker, and that they're going to be able to be supercharged, right? And I think the question is, okay, how you do your own podcast, you're making your own music, you're doing all that. How big can it get? And what other verticals can we add to what you're doing? And where can other people play in that delivery? But it is a real disruption for everybody that's creative here in the room. I want you to know that this is a real moment. It's a major inflection point. And if we're not thinking in like industrial scale about where we're going, I mean, maybe this is a time for the creative industry in Nigeria to do some scenario thinking, stakeholders to come together and think about it, because Suno is producing Afrobeats as well as anything that we make here. If we're not thinking about, okay, how then do we participate in what the world looks like in the future, the danger is that fewer and fewer people will be able to dominate the market in a way that we've never seen before, you know.
Thank you. Can we, Ashim?
All right, I'll go with the interest rate question. It's a very tricky one. You know, when you're in a market where you have double-digit interest rates, high double digits, right? We're not talking about 10, 11%. We're talking about north of 26, 27% as MPR. Okay, monetary policy rate is pretty high. But it's a function of the market that we're in at the moment and that we have been going through over the last few years that is now sort of stabilizing. The trend, I suppose, or the hope is that interest rates are going to start trending downwards. Now, what we see at Octera is that there are businesses that can absorb those interest rates because of the sectors that they play in. So I want to take an example of trade finance, for instance. There is quite a number of sectors, commodities, for instance, minerals, that are pretty high margin games, where if you want to grow your business at speed, and oftentimes speed is where you're going to win. And I'm sure, Chowdeck will agree with me that if he had not built as quickly as he had built, there might have been another player who perhaps might have solved it. So speed is often very important in growth. So accessing high interest rate capital, we don't believe that should ever be a long-term solution, right? But what you do want to do is that you want to use it for your proof of concept, to build your track record so that you have proven it, and then you can go and access single-digit interest rates from Bank of Industry or from other players out there, even in the global market, right? Now, the reality is those players are not going to invest in you when you have nothing to show them. You're going to say, oh, well, I'd like to buy and sell this thing, but I've never done it before because nobody has given me money. So perhaps you've got to go and say, okay, I might need to let go of some of my margin, but guess what? I'm going to be able to scale up real quick so that I can then go to the bigger players who have cheaper financing, quote unquote, for me. So that's sort of how we see it, right? It might not be for everyone. And I think for all the business owners in the room, it's important that you do understand your finances, right? It's important that you familiarize yourself with your margins and really, sort of all the stack on your capital so that you understand what you can and what you can't afford.
Thank you, Ashim. Femi?
Yeah, on scale, I saw the news, by the way, earlier today, coming here. And I think that like the big thing we've also had to learn is that like we've built like a very beautiful piece of technology that can deliver anything. So initially it was just food that was the use case, which is like, you deliver in 30 minutes. Food is like the greatest validation. Someone is hungry, they need something, like 5 minutes delay, 10 minutes delay, like gets escalated very quickly. Now, I think it was in 2024, like I mentioned earlier, that we started like looking into our data a lot more and realizing like what else can this product do? Like we have a very strong logistics engine. How can we expose that to customers other than food delivery? Now, the first thing we ended up launching was something called Relay, which is our package delivery. Well, like instead of like just ordering food, you can just say, I want to send something from X to Y. That picked up, but that didn't pick up as quickly as food did pick up. Almost immediately, we saw the insight on the chicken and the turkey and meat and everything I mentioned earlier. But our first approach was to launch it as supermarkets. That's like to deliver via supermarkets. Now that picked up as well, but that didn't pick up as like when you see PMF, like when you see something spike up very quickly, and then looking at that insight as well, I learned very quickly because I was asking myself that like, why is this not picking up in Nigeria? Like it works in Europe, it works in America, it works in other countries, but like, we have seen this problem. Like, why is our solution the wrong one? I guess the biggest insight I got during that period for groceries was that like in a country like South Africa, ShopRite in South Africa, for example, like announces like $10 billion in annualized GMV for that year, for 2024. Now, ShopRite in South Africa also has like over 4,000 branches. Now, the biggest supermarket in Nigeria like has just under 200 branches. So Nigeria as a country is unique in that sense. Like Nigeria does not have a strong supermarket culture. Now, it's easy to be in Lagos or be on the island and think that like you're in a bubble. Like, oh, on the island you see like 5 supermarkets lined up. But once you start going to like non-island areas, like you realize that like I don't know the right term to use for that, but I was trying to look for the right English, but I guess maybe like when you start going to, I don't know, other areas, like you realize that like supermarket is actually a luxury and you can see just one supermarket in like a 20-kilometer radius. So our business is supply and demand. Like there's no, if you don't have enough supply, like you can't have enough demand to match it. But people are cooking and people are eating. Where are they getting these groceries from? And it was clear, growing up, like it was not until I got to university that I actually realized that like people actually, I saw supermarkets as like the way I saw restaurants like Mr. Biggs and all. It wasn't the everyday I want to get something kind of thing. It was like, oh, you need to I don't know, go on outing, or you need to take pictures, like you just go to supermarkets here. And I think that like because you don't have a lot of those supermarkets, because again I stayed in an area that is very far from Ireland, for example, so you wouldn't find like supermarkets in the area I grew up. So it made sense that like people needed to order these things, but they would go to like the local markets, the open air markets, and then almost immediately we launched that product that you see on Chowdeck now. You see Sabo markets, you see Obalindi. There are a lot of markets that are on Chowdeck today, and that was our fastest growing product like that we ever launched, and we launched that and that picked up very quickly. Now sorry, I'm taking too long. I just want to like tell you the journey of how our products like came about. Now, when we launched our local markets, our approach again, because Chowdeck is a marketplace fundamentally, our approach was to have shoppers go pick up like the items in the market. So when you order for stuff, like they'll go buy tomatoes, buy rodo, and it will take like 3 hours for the person to finish buying the food. Now, we started thinking of like, how can we make this thing faster? Like there's no way we are going to be delivering every order in 3 hours or in 2 hours for groceries. And then we thought about the idea of like launching dark stores. Now, and that was the first time I realized that like we actually need to raise like funding to build this company. Because like for dark stores, we would set up like stores like close to the markets or even around residential areas, like stock up on these items, and then when customers order, we just pick it from our inventory and go and deliver it to them. And that gave birth to a product called Chow Store. Now, last month, like Chow Store for the first time like crossed like 1.5 billion naira in monthly processing volume, and we've launched so many products, but like that is our fastest ever growing product like we've ever launched. I think it's about 12 or 11% right now of our total revs, and seeing that product move very quickly just means that like yes, initially we had a product that people could order from, even though it was slow. Like people still loved ordering from that product. Now that like it's 10 times faster, people are even ordering like multiple things in a day. Like you see in the morning, people are ordering for toothpaste, ordering for soap. In the evening, they're ordering for groceries. They're ordering for. So it's like people have built a behavior around it, and thankfully we have a generation that like and I won't be surprised to find people that like in this generation that don't even know where a physical market is. And that's the behavior you are seeing with a lot of like child customers. So we are getting there, but I guess my DNA is not to like just launch everything for the sake of launching. It is like, what are the problems that we are seeing from our data, and then layer our logistics infrastructure to solve those problems here.
Thank you for such robust response. I'm going to take one question from there, the gentleman with the glasses, and then a last one here. But please, one question.
Okay, good everyone. Sorry, my name is Saviomba, and I am building a financial reconciliation software for businesses. My question is for Hashim, right? And it's targeted towards somewhat what everyone has said here. But I'm very careful to ask. You had mentioned that one of the very problems that businesses face or have, or CEOs particularly, is they're married to the problems a lot of times. Sorry?
Married to the solution.
Sorry, married to the solution a lot of times, right? They don't think there's a next thing to build else. And my question is around pivoting. You know, when you're speaking, you're talked about scale. The market to operate in is one that's was at speed and execution as well. As a business owner, when should you know when to pivot? Now, I'm careful to say that because oftentimes you want to move so fast and go to build the next big thing, but your data and your customers are telling you something you should pay attention to. So that fine line between, should I listen more to my customers and now I know what they're saying, or I should pivot for this opportunity that would bring in maybe more revenue for the business? That fine line, like how do you define that particularly? Just answer my question, please.
Thanks very much. Great question, by the way. I want to give a little bit of a nuanced answer, okay? I think one, you will always know if you're on the right path if your customers are paying for the product, okay? If your customers ain't paying for it, you might need to look at, what's going wrong. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of time for it to pick up because perhaps one thing in that value chain was broken. Again, great example that we just heard about, they had launched the ability for customers to purchase from the market, Tomato, Rodo, whatever, directly. However, what they still hadn't figured out was that it was taking too long. It was only once they had fixed that suddenly it went up significantly, right? So I think it's really key to listen to the data, right? But you've got to also listen to the data a little bit, ensuring that the insights are interpreted the right way. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that you have a lot of cooks cooking your stew. One person says, oh, too much salt. The other person says, not enough salt. The other person says, too much pepper. Before you know it, you have a stew that is tasteless, right? So really, really key that you're not just taking the data and immediately implementing, but you're interpreting that data correctly. And I think the second thing I will say is that there's also a difference between pivoting and evolving your business model. Pivoting would mean or imply sort of make a 180. Evolving simply means that you're stacking, right? You're building on top of what you already have. A great logistics engine, guess what? There's several different solutions that we can stack on top of that. So really key that you look at that. Sometimes a pivot is what is simply going to ensure that you really get to scale. And sometimes it's what's going to rescue your business, right? But you've really got to listen to the data, look at whether or not you actually have product market fit, are customers paying for your business, for your product, and then interpret the data properly.
Thank you, Hashim. I like how you just said when someone spots something, I'm paraphrasing, spot a problem, right? Within the problem that you're solving. It's not always about the problem itself. It's that there's something in the value chain that is broken. That's really good. That was really good. Can we get a microphone right here, please, for Mrs. Onyeka? Can we get a microphone? Right here. Thank you.
Okay, so I know everyone seems to be picking on Chowdek. So I know that there's a trust deficit generally, and a lot of your business, you've spoken to the tech side and the logistics side, but there's also the middleman side. So when I go to Chowdek, I see brands, right? And I know that you have the badges to verify and all of that, but there's also the negative side of that, in the sense that if I ordered food from somewhere and it came in bad or whatever, there's a thin line between whether it's the brand or Chowdek's fault. How do you navigate that? Because a lot of the services are not necessarily, I mean, there's the pharmaceutical and there's the food and all of that, but there's stuff that will, for want of a better phrase, rot, you know, within a short time frame. I mean, it's really hot. If the food comes in late, there might be something wrong. If your rider eats the chicken, there might be something wrong. So how do you manage your brand, you know, with those sorts of negative, but I mean, the tech you have on lock, but with those sorts of things, I mean, if I ordered food and there was something wrong with it, I think the information would be more viral than how quickly the food came. So how do you manage that as a brand?
Yeah, great question. Very good question. Because like I know that the first 2 or 3 years was really hard managing this particular problem. I think maybe the only answer or the best answer that like I always give to this question is we just communicate. I think that's the thing. Like for customers, most times when a customer says they're like, oh, they're pissed, they order this, like most times they just want to be heard. They want you to solve their problem. And some of their problem can come in different forms. We learned very quickly that like initially we used to just like, I don't know, do refunds and move on. You know what I mean? Like, oh, refund the money and all. But I think we learned as well that like it was more than the refund. Like someone like this, because you can't refund for someone's time that you've wasted. You can't refund for like the entire experience or even the trauma that you've caused that customer in the process of like that bad delivery, that bad experience. So what we started doing was we launched like a product that's helped us, that's internally, that helped us like clearly define what the source of the problem was. So if something happens once, it's rare for it to happen again. So if you have a problem with the restaurant, and that was when we even launched a product called Ratings and Review. If you use Chowdek app very well, I think it's one of the funniest products we have. And when I mean funniest products, if you go to the rating section of the app and the review section, just read customers' review. When I'm tired, I just go there and I just start laughing because I'm like, I don't know, how is it the restaurant's fault, like, or this thing, but like people say, like everyone can contribute to providing feedback about a particular restaurant. So when you're going to order and you go through those reviews, you see, like if you have a problem, you go and, I don't know, talk about the restaurant and all, and other people see it and like, oh, this restaurant, I would order from here, I'll order from here. They're able to, people make decisions based off like what they read in those ratings and review. That was one solution we pushed to that. Now, we also didn't just stop at like refunding the customer. Like we'll take the extra step as well to like inform the vendor that like, hey, this customer ordered from your food, ordered from your restaurant, they didn't like your food, X, Y, and Z. We are seeing a pattern because with our space as well, taste buds can be very different. Like someone can be really frustrated by very spicy food, but like somebody else, like that is what somebody else like likes specifically. So there's that context as well that like applies in the meals and the restaurants. So for us, like it's like we just learned that like it's three-sided, like customers, riders, restaurants. It's really hard to please like all sides. But like in the case where there's a dispute, like what we do is to be very, very clear about the communication. Let the customer know that like it was the vendor that made it this way. If they want a refund, we can also process a refund on behalf of the vendor. Like we take every part of the process very serious, and sometimes our riders are also at fault because now it's raining all over Lagos. Like it's hard to deliver meals like the way, like when sun is shining, it's different how when rain is falling. People are entering like I don't know, flood. Shout out to those that are staying like I don't know areas like mine, but people order from restaurants in that, and I think the biggest thing that I've also seen as well, even with customers as well, is that like customers, how do I describe it now? They know, they have a strong sense of like what is good and what is bad. So if you order in the rain, for example, and it comes like 1 hour late and the food even comes slightly sold, like there's a higher chance of forgiving the rider for that, because you see the rider is trouser folded, walking in the rain. Like what do you want to do? Like he carry the food on the head to deliver to you, and then you will still want to complain. Like what do you really want? That kind of thing. Yeah. So I think it's just communication. I think that's the answer that like I would always give to that question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. In the early days, in the early days, we used to under communicate, but now like we over communicate. Like when I mean over communicate, like because again, like the people get a lot more frustrated when they don't know what's happening. So if you ordered in the rain, for example, and it would take like 2 or 3 hours, like we try to update you every step of the process. You see where the rider is. We even improved our timeline. We launched a feature that is called live tracking, that you can see where the rider is in real time, see what is happening with your order. Because again, 30 minutes is good, but like you would rather like if it's going to come in 1 hour, you should know what is happening with your order at any point in time. You also build trust as well, because you're like, the rider is not taking my food somewhere else. Like you're seeing the rider moving from where he is to the restaurant. When he picks up the food, you're seeing him waiting at the restaurant. When he leaves the restaurant, even if he's walking in the restaurant, you can see it on the app as well that this guy is walking around. So you can easily like get a sense of like what is happening with my order at any point in time. So now we over communicate rather than like just communicate here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Femi. And thank you all for your brilliant questions. They were really, really good questions. I'm now considering whether you guys should have been on stage with us as well. Before we run into our closing remarks, do we have any questions from online? Do we have an online? Okay, we have 2 questions from our online audience. Okay.
This is for Ashim. Kemba from Congo says, for early stage founders with limited resources, where should we invest first after you have successfully set up your product? And then this is for Femi. Frank from Port Harcourt says, how do you distinguish between what customers say they want and what their behavior actually tells you they need? Which do you trust more? Those are the questions.
Okay, thank you so much for the question, all the way from Congo, right? So it's such a good question, but I don't think that there is a one-size-fit-all answer for it. Why do I say that? Because depending on what type of business the gentleman, I think it is building, if you have limited resources, you might need to invest it in here, or you might need to invest it in there, right? So I'll give an example. If you are building a service company, okay, so whatever solution it is a service that you're providing. It might be really, really key that you invest in talent, that you have great people, great customer service, that, you know, they are very pleasant, they're very knowledgeable, all of those things. So you might need to invest in people. That's a cost too. If you're building a digital app, you might need to have to invest in cloud credits, right? Or you need to make sure that you have great engineering talent. So I think it really depends on what it is that you're building. If you're a manufacturing company, you might need to invest in equipment. So there's no, you know, right or wrong answer. It really depends on the business, depends on the stage of the business, the sector. So unfortunately, there's no, you know, direct answer to that question. He's really gonna just have to look at his business and say, hey, look, what is it that I'm building? Where is it that I'm gonna get the most for my buck, right? The 80-20 rule, right? You wanna put 20% into where you get 80% outcome, right? And that's where you really wanna plow into and do more and more of.
So much, Ashim. Femi, your question.
Sorry, do you want to repeat the question?
Let me repeat it. It says, how do you distinguish between what customers say they want and what their behavior actually tells you they need? Which do you trust more?
I feel like that's a trick question. But I guess I would say how I approach it, and how the team approaches it as well. I think the data is the truth, honestly. The data is the final truth. Like if like I think there are very few people that like obsess over data like I do. Like and this is like looking for the truth that like even the customers don't even know that like is the truth they actually want. Because people say something, but like there's something deeper in what they're asking for or what they're actually saying. For example, a customer can say like, oh, I want like my delivery to come in 10 minutes. But like that same customer would be comfortable with a 25 minutes delivery. So if you spend or over optimize trying to get that delivery in 10 minutes, you would lose out on like because it would probably become too expensive and you're not even able to like hit PMF. Now, the data is, and I think I've given multiple references to like how we use data like over the last few years, but like it keeps coming back to like data. Now, something that like we did recently that I remember when I was talking earlier, I didn't remember I was talking earlier, was that like we launched Bills, and this is to the super app question. We launched Bills on Chowdeck, and Bills is basically like you can buy airtime, you can buy data, you can buy lights, internet, and all of that thing. Now, the insight that made us launch Bills was not that like we thought that like customers would want to buy data, want to buy airtime. It was something completely different. Now, our riders like always complain when they're going to deliver, for example, they would always complain like, oh, they don't have credit to call the customer, they don't have call card to call the customer, customers cannot call them, and like there was just that a lot of like they couldn't call and all of those things. Similarly, when customers order for something on Chowdeck, let's say it's 10,000 naira, and then the restaurant does not have beef, and then it's like they have to refund you like 400 naira for that order. Now that 400 naira goes to your Chowdeck wallet, and then it just sits in your wallet like not doing anything, like it's just there, like because you can't buy another plate of food for 400 naira. So it keeps accumulating 400 naira, 200 naira, and we kept like thinking like what can we, and customers kept saying like, oh, I want to withdraw this money out of my wallet, I want to withdraw 400 naira, and if you know how banking system works in Nigeria, to withdraw 400 naira you still have to pay 15 naira plus stamp duty plus like there are a lot of things that you have to pay, that even the 400 naira becomes like, you know what, just even like this thing here. So those two things like just like we needed to think of how to solve this problem. Customers of course wanting to do that, and we launched Bills on our app. Now when we launched Bills, like it was just, I mean, aside groceries, it was one of the fastest that also picked up on Chowdeck as well, because like people started, like we did not even announce it, people started buying airtime, people started buying credit, people started buying like light and internet. I was like, oh, you people had this problem before and you did not tell us that we had a problem. We've been asking for surveys, what can we do, what can we do, but like it picked up so quickly. Like right now we do, I think, over 3,000 like bill payments like daily, which is significant for the space we are doing, for something that's not even our core business. Riders also use this a lot, because like previously they would probably have to like, I don't know, borrow airtime or do all of those things, but now it's available on the app. They can just like buy airtime on the app directly, and they don't have to worry about like having to call customers. So sometimes it's like the data just points you in the right direction. If you're not looking at data deeply enough, you would build really shallow products, and even when the solution you are building is not the right solution, it's hard to know that it's not, because if you tell them like you just build it and you'll be like, oh yeah, it's working now, but are they using it? If the answer is no, are they paying for it? If the answer is no, then you've most likely not built the right thing. So my one answer is just trust your data. Yeah.
Trust the data. Trust the data. Thank you so much to our incredible panelists for being, so open to sharing and sharing so deeply. Can we give them a round of applause again? Thank you. I really, really enjoyed this. And now I'd just like to invite Mr. Olukayode Olubiyi, who is the head of digital banking, to give the closing remarks. Can we give him a round of applause, please? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Another round of applause for the panelists. I think today is extra special, right? I'm borrowing that from MI. Extra special because we've been talking, yes, it's building for Africa's reality, turning consumer feedback into technology-driven solution. But I will summarize it with 3 words. We've talked about today innovation. We've talked about creativity. And we've talked a lot. We've had a lot from them on data. And some people said data is the new oil. Femi talked about looking into data, and he's been going back to that to solve different pain points. So, I'm in the business of data as well. So we'll look more into data. We do that as well in UBA. Generation of people who don't know where a market is. You also talked about that, Femi, but I can tell you that they know where the market is. The market is on their mobile phone. And that's Chowdeck. That's the market. Right. MI talk about AI will allow individuals to create, allow creative individuals to become extra special, leveraging AI. And I always say that today, in today's world, we talk about artificial intelligence. If I put something on ChatGPT or Cloud or any other AI platform, the outcome I'm going to get is going to be different from what another person will get. Why? Because the way I will query and make my demand will be different. That's one. Two, the output that the AI gives me, I will rework it based on my skill and competence. So when you are seeing what is coming from me, it's different, right? So I believe AI has come to actually transform the way we do things. It talked about influencers and ability to pinpoint audience. I believe these are very strong feedback that are coming from our panelists. Very great. I think this deserves huge round of applause. Well done. And to cap it up, Ashim talked about the risk stack, right? That is so profound. Market risk, there are a lot of market risk. Earlier this week, I was having conversation with some people, and we're talking about the risk things that are going on in the market around businesses, small businesses, cyber, different things, different people trying to do different things, and the risks are actually real. She talked about market readiness, right? That determines where you go across the different African countries. And today, we know that UBA is in 24 countries, 4 continents, and we're in 20 countries across Africa. But what that means is also that the solution we take to the different markets, they differ, right? Because the needs of each market differs from one another. So she also mentioned one thing, that unless the market is ready to pay for what you built, you don't have a product. Clock it. All right, thank you so much. So I just hold on for me. I just tried to write those things because they were so profound. I've learned so much here today. All right, so I'll just do a quick roundup, and I put this down personally. So special appreciation to everyone here today. I think we should give ourselves a round of applause. Thank you all, partners, panelists, members of the press, online content, and media teams, online audience, our online audience. I had a question from Congo and other parts of the world. Thank you for joining us today. The UBA team here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Building for Africa's reality and turning customer feedback into a tech-driven solution is something we've looked at today, and our panelists have provided, great insight into that. There's a saying in product development, people don't buy technology, they buy solution to their problems. That mindset is especially important when building products for Africa. Africa is one of the fastest growing digital economies in the world, but it's also one of the most diverse. Different markets, and we've talked about that. Different languages, cultures, payments, preferences, and everyday challenges. We had a time we built, so Leo is our AI chatbot. Our customers are able to chat and have their transactions over simple conversations. And we went to eastern part of Africa. Customers say no, they don't want Leo in English. They want it in Swahili. So we had to make it available to them in that language. So we have different markets, different cultures across Africa. When companies listen well, and we've seen that today, listening well, it also means looking at the data. What behavior are we seeing, or what customers want? They don't just improve products, they build solutions that people genuinely trust and use. So I actually wrote some things here about Chowdeck, but I'm not going to talk about it anymore because Femi had done justice to that. In fact, my colleague was whispering to me that, anyway, Femi, we have a lot of business to do together. I'm announcing to the rest of the world. So they must happen between today and tomorrow. All right. Thank you. So, but what they've done is they've turned delivery to a great experience. The last time he came around, and while we're having conversation, someone said, I don't use Child Deck. He said, why don't you use Child Deck? While she was trying to explain, she said, oh, tell me that what reason? But I get what he's trying to extract is to know the pain point that is coming from that person. And definitely, when you solve that, you solve a bigger problem for a larger number of customers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go to another great example at UBA. Is UBA Leo. Leo is our AI chatbot that enables customers to chat and bank seamlessly across 4 platforms: WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, and Apple Business Chat. So customers can have over simple conversations, have banking transactions conducted. What are those things that customers can do? So instead of downloading a mobile app over your WhatsApp, you actually can bank. Just chat Leo, and that happens. So we brought banking to customers on a platform they already use daily. They can transfer money locally in Nigeria. They can do, right now we've introduced foreign currency transfer, so customer can send money from Nigeria to any part of the world on Leo. Actually, this year alone, we launched 6 major innovation on Leo. And it's part of what, when we met Femi, he talked about it, that he liked what we're using Leo to do, especially connecting to the young people. So you're able to do cross-border payments, check balances, pay for data, airtime, lifestyle, virtual card, right? So if you want a card, you don't need to come to the bank. You can get one on Leo, the digital card, right? And that you can use it to do every other thing you can use your card to do. You can get loans. Customers, we found out that they want to get some quick money to do business. On Leo, you can actually say, give me loan. You say, how much? Right? You can do that on Leo as well. And of course, support. I once met a customer that customer said, that customer went to used our card on another bank POS, and the customer had issue and was saying, so the supervisor at that shop, it's a big shop around here, she knows me, so she said, okay, let me call Coyote. The man just said, no, don't call Coyote. I will chat Leo. Leo will solve my problem. He was talking to the customer, to the merchant, like Leo is a person. And that's actually a person that can solve people's real problem. So rather than changing customer behavior, what we've done is adapted technology via Leo to solve, to fit into people's lifestyle. These examples teach us important lesson, plus what the panelists have talked about. Customers rarely ask for new technology. They simply tell us what's difficult, frustrating, time-consuming. And we can also see that in data. It's our job to translate those insights into practical solutions, leveraging technology. Building Africa's realities means designing with empathy, listening with intention, and innovating with purpose. When customer feedbacks becomes part of how we build products, not just how we evaluate them, we create technology that is inclusive, practical, and impactful. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to experience the Leoverse from UBA. So just scan this QR. Ladies and gentlemen, we put something great here for you. It's a totally different experience from UBA Leo. You see the Leo world when you scan that QR. Thank you, everyone.
deal in steel business, iron and steels. My father did this business, and of a truth, he tried his best. But coming out saying how the whole thing has been playing out, I joined in the business and we now grew it to this extent. And when I was starting, a lot of things came up, financial aspect of it, the people you are going to work with, because there is a lot of unfaithfuls. And some of the things I like banking with UBA, there are many. I value the relationship because they mostly answer when there's challenges in business, you called, and they will respond immediately. Right for the day we started till now, I've been there. So I enjoyed all they do and how they're doing it. Let them keep it up. Anything that I cannot find in Orchard, I don't think you can find it anywhere. Because we are more of selling the product here than every other area.